What's up, 10-3? Hope everyone's staying healthy out there. Here we got our last lesson for this unit on capacity. And capacity is related to volume. So hopefully you have already watched the lesson on volume. And this is the next one on capacity, which is on pages 36 and 37 in your note package. So what is capacity? Well, capacity is how much a container can hold. Volume and capacity are sometimes used interchangeably, and we can express volume and capacity as liters. Now, liters is kind of a base unit for the metric system for any sort of measurement of volume, and so that's liters represented by an L. But we can also have prefixes in front of that, talking about like milliliters or kiloliters or other prefixes in the front. We also have the Imperial measurement system for volume, which includes things like pints, quarts, fluid ounces, gallons, etc. Okay, and or technically any length cubed can be a measurement of volume. So converting between SI and imperial volume units is the same process as converting between lengths. So at the beginning of this unit, we converted back and forth between metric units of length, between imperial units of length, and between those two measurement systems. And we had two different processes that we could do that with. And we're going to review those today. So a cube that has a capacity of 1 centimeter cubed can actually hold about one milliliter. And so that conversion factor is required for us to make a conversion between volume measurement and looking at capacity. So what is exactly the difference between capacity and volume? So capacity is the amount of liquid a container can hold. And so we can measure capacity of anything to hold something else. So for example, the capacity of, maybe this milk carton here is about half a gallon, which would be about 2 liters. Well, what's volume then? Volume is how much space an object takes up. And where this really differs is this can include solids, liquids, and gases. Okay? So for example, if you're blowing up a balloon, you could be increasing that volume of gas. So how much area or how much space does that balloon take up? How much volume? So that's the difference. Capacity is usually strictly a liquid measurement, while volume can be, capacity. Okay. So that's the big thing to know. Capacity is usually talking about liquid, while volume can be any sort of three-dimensional space, so solids, liquids, and gases. So again, we need to make sure we have our formula sheet. So this is the conversion factor on the formula sheet. And for us, we're mostly just focusing on this capacity section. So this right here is looking at the SI. This is the imperial. And these are conversions between SI and imperial units. And if we remember, there is two different ways that we can do this. We said anytime you go from 1 to a number, whatever that may be, so this 1, let's say 1 liter to 1,000 milliliters. So to go from 1 to a number, we were always multiplying by whatever number is right here. So in this example, to go from 1 liter to 1,000 milliliters, I just times by 1,000. To reverse that process, we need to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So if I was going from milliliters to liters, I would have to divide by 1,000. So I can use all of these conversion factors that way, because they all have 1 here. The other thing that I can do is set up a proportion, right? I could say, okay, 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. So if I have, 2 liters, how many milliliters do I have? And once I set up my proportion, I can then cross multiply and divide to solve for my unknown. All right, so let's use those strategies to go solve some capacity conversion questions. So it says, convert the following capacities to the indicated unit. The first one says, convert 2,500 milliliters to liters. First of all, just using a conversion factor. Well, the conversion factor is the one we were just looking at, which says 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. So I need to take this 2,500 milliliters and go figure out, well, how many liters is that? Here, we are going from milliliters to liters using this conversion factor, which means I have to go backwards, so I would be dividing by 1,000, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to divide by 1,000. So 2,500 divided by 1,000 is going to give me 2. That's technically equal to 2.5 liters. I can solve this same question using a proportion. So we know that 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. So we're trying to find out how many liters are in 2,500 milliliters. Once I have my proportion set up, we cross multiply the two numbers that are diagonally across from each other and divide by the number we have not used yet. So divide that by 1,000. And regardless of what strategy I choose to solve for here, I end up with the same answer, 2.5 liters. All right, so let's go to B. B says convert 4 quarts to pints. Now, that's not really a conversion factor I know off the top of my head, so I'm going to go check the formula sheet, and the formula sheet tells me in 1 quart, there are 2 pints. So 1 quart is equal to 2 pints. So I'm going to let's use a conversion factor here. 4 quarts is 2 pints. So I'm going from quarts to pints. Well, if I'm going from 1 to a number, I need to multiply by that number. So to go from 4 quarts to pints, I need to times that by 2. So 4 quarts is equal to 8 pints. Next one says 2.5 cups to milliliters. So I'm going to go use the conversion factor. The conversion factor says 1 cup is equal to 237 milliliters. So I'll set up my proportion. Well, I'm looking, if I have 2.5 cups, how many milliliters would that be? And now once I've set up this proportion, I can cross multiply the two numbers that are diagonally across from each other and divide by the number I haven't used yet. So divide by 1. And when I put that on my calculator, x is equal to 529.5. My units is milliliters. Okay. Make sure you always include your units. These. All right, so here's 2 more questions. It says convert the following capacities. If you feel comfortable, grab your formula sheet out, press pause, and try these 2 on your own, and then check them. If you're not quite ready, we will just leave the video playing and follow along. So the first one says 1,500 centimeters to liters using the conversion factor. Well, on my formula sheet, it tells me that 1 milliliter is equal to 1 centimeter cubed. So that's a 1-to-1 ratio. So if I have 1,500 centimeters cubed, that's just going to be 1,500 milliliters, because that's a 1-to-1. Now, 1,500 milliliters, I still need to change that to liters. And then I can use on my formula sheet, 1 liter is equal to 1,500 milliliters. So it's kind of a 2-step process here. Now I need to go from milliliters to liters. So I'm going to have to divide that by 1,000. So divide this by 1,000. That's going to be 1.5 liters. So 1,500 centimeters cubed is equal to 1.5 liters. The next question says solve using proportions. 950 fluid ounces is equal to how many milliliters? From my formula sheet, I know that 1 fluid ounce is equal to 29.57 milliliters. They're giving me 950 fluid ounces. So how many milliliters is that? Once I've set that up, cross multiply and divide. So x is equal to 950 times 29.57. And I will just divide that by 1. So x is equal to 28,091.5 milliliters. So that's saying that 950 fluid ounces is equal to 28,991 milliliters. Okay, so just a few word problems here. Now, the word problems aren't too complicated. They are just not directly saying go from this unit to this unit. You have to kind of decode what unit conversions you're looking for yourself here. So it says what volume of water in fluid ounces could be held in a container that has a capacity of 40 milliliters. So we know this can hold 40 milliliters of water. Well, what volume is that in ounces? So we're in milliliters, and it looks like we have to go to ounces. So that's what I'm going to look for. If I go on my formula sheet, I have that same conversion factor used for the previous question, that 1 fluid ounce is equal to 29.57 milliliters. We know this container holds about 40 milliliters. So how many fluid ounces could it contain? To solve here, I cross multiply and divide. So 1 times 40 divide by 29.57. So I cross multiply and divide. And so that unknown, we'll call it x, is equal to about 1.4 fluid ounces. So not quite 1.5. Could fit in that 40 milliliter container. All right. Next one says a rectangular prism has a capacity of 34 centimeters cubed. What is that volume in milliliters? Milliliters. If I go check my formula sheet, it tells me 1 centimeter cubed is equal to 1 milliliter. Well, if I look at this, this is just a 1-to-1. So even if I cross multiply and divide, my volume is still going to be 34 milliliters. So really important being able to, use those conversion factors to set up proportions or understand the multiplying dividing ratios to help you be able to answer those questions. So I would suggest going and completing a few capacity questions on homework 9 on page 38. There's not very many questions there, so go take a look at that. And when you're ready, go try the quiz. Okay, thank you for listening.